everybody, my name is Luke Mar and this is HauteLeMode, and today on HauteLeMode we are going to be going through the history of Elton John's fashion career. Now, if you guys don't know, the movie Rocketman is coming out on May 31st. This is not sponsored content, although I wish it was, because I feel like movie budget, sponsorships, dinero. But I really didn't know anything about Elton John all that much, and so I thought, you know what, the movie's coming out, I feel like Elton John has iconic looks, let's get into it. I'm very excited, I think it's gonna be really, really fun, and I feel like everybody's gonna learn a lot. Also, you'll be noticing that these crystallized Gucci glasses are very on brand for Elton, so I'm probably not gonna take them off during the video. Before we get any further into the video though, if you guys are looking for a channel that talks about fashion in the most fun, sassy, bitchy, analytical way, this is it. So you can go down below, hit the subscribe button, and turn on my post notifications. I mean, like, what do you have to lose? You're already here. You're watching me with these fucking glasses on. Get it together. And if you guys want to see more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at HauteLeMode. I post some pretty poppin' fashion memes, and my Instagram stories are always spilling all the fashion goss. So check it out. And you can follow me at HauteLeMess for more of my personal looks and takes on the fashion industry. Quick backstory on Elton. He was born Reginald Kenneth Dwight in 1947. He grew up in a London suburb and fell in love with music at a very, very young age. His first real fashion moment was to adopt thick-rimmed glasses like the American rock star Buddy Holly. He was a little fashion plate starting out at such a young age, baby Elton. Elton distinctly remembers not liking his appearance as a child, but he used the glasses as a way to just give himself a little bit more confidence, so fashion really did seem to be an important part of his life even at a young age. Elton's father was a very strict military man though, so for the most part during his childhood he dressed very, very conservatively. So after finishing school and doing a stint in a band called Bluesology, Elton took up a job at Liberty Records where he became a songwriter. He started working with a guy named Bernie Taupin, who was a lyricist, while Elton did a lot of the keyboard situation. But after a while working as somebody that was writing songs for other people, Elton got antsy and wanted to start his own career. So he did a little name switch up and came up with Elton John, and went on to release his first song called Empty Sky. Elton also began to adopt sunglasses at this time, which became a style staple for him for the rest of his career. Unfortunately though, Elton actually hadn't broken through as a star, so Liberty Records decided that they were going to send him to LA, Los Angeles, as a last-ditch effort to get his career rolling. This was at the tail end of the 1960s and was pretty much the way that Elton set up his career to be super successful in the 70s. In the early years, many of Elton's looks were actually bought from stores. So yeah, there were no stylist pulls or custom Dior looks. Instead, Elton would usually wear denim overalls that either had long or short pants and would accentuate them with a long sleeve t-shirt underneath. The most famous look from Elton in 1970 was actually a really, really simple black sweater that had these beautiful stars embroidered or like encrusted with diamonds on them, which I honestly would wear the fuck out of. Like, can we re-release those somewhere, anywhere, I don't know where, just do it, okay? He also would wear Go Hill boots, which were a British brand which were worn by the likes of Elton and other artists like Syd Barrett. After a successful time in LA, Elton returned to the UK, where he had grown in popularity significantly. His outfits also started to grow significantly in outrage factor as well. Elton had also come out to himself about the fact that he liked men at this point, and I think that this was sort of helping him to really put on these extravagant looks and crazy creations. A photo from 1972 depicts Elton wearing a t-shirt with these silky wide-leg pants, and on top of that he was wearing this beautiful fur coat and like amazing heeled shoes. The look was ridiculous, but it also was Elton, and it's also something I would like to emulate in my future. And these sort of looks also weren't that far away from what other campy performers were wearing at the time. The likes of David Bowie and Freddie Mercury were just as crazy at this point, but it seemed to be what people really, really liked and appreciated. And on top of this, Elton's success had granted him a very, very nice wage, and so he started to really spend money and invest in his wardrobe, both on stage and off stage. In 1971, after a huge popularity spike, Elton traveled on tours of both Japan and Australia. On this tour, Elton wore clothes and the signature winged boots from the London shop Mr. Freedom. Mr. Freedom had popped up around the time of the swinging 60s and was very, very, very popular. The store was owned by one owner, and also it had a very popular sister store called Kleptomania, which really ran with the whole mod aesthetic. Instead, Mr. Freedom took a more pop art and brash sort of aesthetic, which is why you don't really see Elton in this like mod 60s aesthetic. One of the first custom pieces Elton ever wore was by his bass player's wife, Annette. Shout out to Annette. Annette had actually sewn a few patches on Elton's denim sets before, but when she created a yellow satin cape that had a big E on it in sequins, that was like when shit really was starting to hit the fan. This also could have been one of the factors that sparked Elton's love of sequins. In 1972, Elton finally took on Annie Reevey, who was his first stage costume director. One of her most well-known pieces was an Elton John green jacket that had in sequins Elton written on the front and John written on the back. The piece was so iconic that it now sits in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and is one of the most iconic pieces Elton has worn to date. In 1973, Elton broke out one of his craziest looks yet, which was a nice white suit with these gigantic feather shoulder pads and these diamond encrusted glasses. But the real fashion moment started to happen in 1974 when the fashion designing titan Bob Mackie came onto Elton's team. Mackie had worked for the legendary costume designer Edith Head, and he had designed for Diana Ross, The Temptations, and The Supremes at this time as well. Mackie had been made famous though by the one and only Cher after he had designed hundreds of costumes for the Sonny and Cher show. Elton reportedly sought Mackie out due to the fact that Elton had loved his work for Cher so much. Mackie recalls that Elton had actually said, and I quote, "Well, I kind of like what you do for Cher," when he was prompted on what he was looking for in costumes. So honestly, Elton and Cher, fashion royalty, merged together, the male and female counterpart, we stan. Mackie splurged Elton in one-of-a-kind and over-the-top outfits that reminded him of the Rocketman that Elton sang about. During this period, Elton's appetite for outrageous costumes was insatiable. From the asymmetrical waterfall fur hat with accompanying bedazzled glasses and fur shawl to a full Victorian gown, too much was really truly never enough for Elton. 1975 was a stellar year for Elton's fashion sense. An image I personally relate to has Elton in a tank top and satin shorts surrounded by his platformed heels, boots, and shoes, and honestly, like I've never really truly related to something more in my life. That's the aesthetic I'm going for. Also, one of the best looks Elton has ever done also came around during 1975. The symmetrical white floral suit was gorgeous. Honestly, it's such a clean, crisp fucking suit, and then on top of it, it just has these really beautiful yet simple floral appliques that it's like you could wear that now, you know? It's timeless. And also, like, the applique star cowboy hat doesn't hurt whatsoever. Like, Lil Nas, get on that. Another great look from 75 was this three-piece satin suit with a crystal encrusted blazer. It also helps that Elton is standing next to his fellow Bob Mackie muses Cher and Diana Ross. Then there was the iconic Dodgers Stadium uniform. On the heels of Elton John week, yes, there was a whole week in Los Angeles dedicated to Elton John. Who knew? Not you. Elton performed at Dodger Stadium. Now, the LA Dodgers are an American baseball team, if you didn't fucking know, like I didn't, whose stadium was often used for concerts, but that actually all stopped in 1966 when a Beatles concert went awry. Also, like, they're the fucking Beatles. Like, how the fuck do you go crazy over the top at a Beatles concert? They sing Yellow Fucking Submarine, like, come on. So the fact that Elton was actually going to be reopening the stadium for concerts in 1975 was like a really big deal. So the LA Dodgers actually sent a uniform to Bob Mackie, who then proceeded to sequin the whole thing and an accompanying baseball cap for Elton to wear. Now, the suit was tight, but that bitch still moved all around the stage like it was nobody's business. It's iconic, it's amazing, and then also you might see it, you might know it, because Harry Styles actually wore it as his 2018 Halloween costume, A King We Stand. And on top of this all, Elton was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Elton accessorized the experience with a green suit covered in gold stars that had the name of himself and also a bunch of other celebrities on the Walk of Fame. He knew how to make things fun. In 1976, Elton released the classic Don't Go Breaking Your Heart with Kiki D. In the music video, Elton wore a really simple blue and white checkered suit, and something that I realized is, while Elton with stage performances could perform as crazily as he wanted, it seemed like when he was doing mainstream music video kinds of things, he really seemed to tone it down, almost like he was kind of scared of the mainstream people. In 1976, Elton also disclosed that he was bisexual, which was a really interesting stage in his career. It definitely came as a shock to a lot of fans, but many assumed that the following decline of Elton didn't really have to do all that much with his coming out, but more so the fact that he had had 5 straight years of major success. So at the end of the 70s, we saw a little bit less of Elton, but the 80s, we really rocketed back into the situation. Between 1980 and 1982, Elton wore an array of crazy stage looks. Some referenced this sort of crazy and glittery military uniform, and others took on the whole neon experience of the 80s as well. Then the Statue of Liberty got like a whole sequin makeover, and even Captain Hook became a little bit campy. Not that he wasn't, he always has been, but like he really got camp. In 1984, Elton released the music video for his song Sad Days, in which he wore a discreet hat and trench coat layered over a pair of pants. Now, the music video starts out in black and white, but as it fades into color, Elton starts to turn out major looks. One of them being a red beautiful blazer, a string tie, and a red banded straw hat. There also is an accompanying blue look, which is very similar. Now, I feel like the really like blah, sad, macabre, grim looks are kind of this like reference to the 1940s and 50s where Elton grew up in this very conservative British style, but the looks that are very colorful and poppy kind of remind me of the idea of dandyism. Dandyism, if you guys don't know, is a subculture that cropped up around the 18th and 19th centuries in the UK, where men started to take real interest and pride in their physical appearances. So dandyism is usually stereotyped as bold colors, interesting silhouettes, and interesting motifs in terms of clothing. So this really seems to hit that dandy stride. In 1985, Elton actually performed at the legendary Live Aid concert. The concert was held at Wembley Stadium and had a wide array of music legends. I mean, Queen performed, Run DMC, Madonna, David Bowie, U2, just to name a few. The concert was held to help fight famine in Africa and was actually opened by Prince Charles and Princess Diana, who Elton actually started to become friends with at this time. During the Live Aid concert, Elton actually went pretty subtle. He wore this fitted black coat that had all these little sequin motifs all over it, and then this black little fez hat with a black feather on it. It definitely was a lot more demure for Elton, but definitely had his little Elton flair. 1986 also brought around a few memorable looks as well. One was a black tuxedo jacket with tails, which was covered in bedazzled stars and had these gigantic, amazing shoulders, which seemed to be a reference back to that black sweater with embroidered stars all over it, which, like, again, I would take any of these black and star incorporated looks. Like, where do I get them? At this time, Bob Mackie also came to help Elton out again, and there was just this crazy array of all different kind of looks that were provided. And then also Elton started to like get really inspired by Mozart, and so he started wearing these wigs and like crazy suits. So again, yeah, 1986, a great year. In 1980, Elton wore the iconic Donald Duck costume designed by Bob Mackie. Disney's classic character got the Rocketman treatment. Honestly, I've never seen somebody rock a Donald Duck costume better. Ever. Bob Mackie did actually disclose that Elton had a lot of trouble wearing this costume and really couldn't even sit down at the piano correctly, but like still, he prevailed. He prevailed. In 1995, Elton actually won an Oscar for his song Can You Feel the Love Tonight in The Lion King, and instead of recreating another one of the iconic Disney characters, he just wore a really simple black suit, which like I get, but also like Elton John in a Simba costume, like I feel like I'm owed that, you know? In 1992, Elton released his EP titled The One, which his good friend Gianni Versace actually did the graphic design for. Elton also asked Gianni to do the costumes for his accompanying tour. It was reported that since Elton's use of Gianni, no one previous or since has ever been given so much leverage in terms of creating Elton's costumes. And then there was also that iconic, like, gigantic white feather boa big hair Elton look. I don't know what it means. I don't know the references behind it, but like I live and die by it. In February of 1997, Elton and Gianni released a book called Rock and Royalty. Now, it explored both of their careers. And inside of the book, there was a photo of Princess Diana, who both were friends with a young Prince Harry and Prince William. Now, Princess Diana saw the book and she was furious. Essentially, she was scared that the queen would see the photo and get really mad at her because like she was still scared of the queen. Because I mean, like who wouldn't be scared of the queen? So she kind of iced Elton and Gianni out. But 6 months later, Gianni Versace was tragically murdered in Miami, and both Elton and Diana went to the funeral. They reconciled at the funeral, and Elton was seen crying for his good friend, and Diana was comforting him. Both of them wore mourning black, and it was honestly really, really chic. I know it's like a funeral, but like still very chic. In August of 1997, Princess Diana tragically passed away, and Elton performed at her friend's funeral in a simple black suit with a round and short little collar. Honestly, it's really sad, but also like it's a beautiful suit. We take a little break to 2003 through 2010, where Elton tapped the Japanese designer Yohji Yamamoto to make some of his concert attire. Yamamoto is extremely subtle and utilizes all black with athletic tendencies, which defines his work. This could have been Elton's way of taking a more comfortable route with his wardrobe, as he was getting a little bit older, but also like Elton literally still is a king who has taste. And then there was the iconic Elton John Dolce & Gabbana fight, where Dolce & Gabbana are fucking stupid and we're like, yo, we hate IVF and like people having babies. And Elton was like, yo, I had IVF for my kids. Like, why are you being dicks right now? So yeah, like he literally was like, yo, hashtag boycott Dolce & Gabbana, and everybody was like, yes. So we stan again. And then finally, the final little topic for this video is actually going to be Gucci's creative director, Alessandro Michele's obsession with Elton John. Now I know I literally always talk about Alessandro Michele, like literally I feel like I'm obsessed with him, but he's very good. He has his little hands in all the cookie jars. So for Gucci's Spring 2018 show, Alessandro actually co-opted some of Elton's iconic costumes for the show. Some of them he definitely diverged from the source material, but others, like the Music Note jumpsuit, was just too fucking good to do anything to, so he literally just sent it down the runway and like, we live. Gucci has also recently announced that they will be outfitting Elton for his farewell tour. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing some looks that are similar to the Gucci Loves Elton John pearl jacket. Like, yes, sign me the fuck up. I honestly think that if anybody is going to actually do Elton John well, it's probably gonna be Alessandro Michele, so I'm excited. So that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I would recommend go seeing the Rocketman movie. I don't know if it's any good. You know, they didn't invite me to a premiere or whatever, which like, fine, I guess. Like, it's cool, I don't care. But yeah, I just really thought that, you know, Elton John is an icon, is a legend. I wanted to learn all about him, and so I did, and so I thought I'd share all that information with you guys. So please let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. I'd love to hear all of your opinions. I will see you guys in the next video, so TTYL.